Welcome to the third Indie Ref Weekly Review, bringing you a roundup of news you maybe missed every week until the Scottish independence referendum in September. This week, the future of oil in Scotland and why devolved powers are not enough. Up first though, JK Rowling comes out in favour of the union and the response from the Yes community was less than stellar. Now I know I've been keeping these light-hearted, but I do want to take a slightly more serious tone for just a moment. When JK Rowling came out this week and stated that she had donated £1 million to Better Together, the best way to have responded would have been to have looked at and critiqued her rationale, not to shout abuse. And for the most part, the response was great. I've seen at least 3 open letters that break down why folks think Rowling has made the wrong decision, links below. However, a very small minority came forward and sent a few abusive tweets to her. That's not okay, folks. People are entitled to their opinions just as we are. And further to that, when the media is looking for anything to smear the Yes campaign with, those tweets become ammunition that can and were used against us. When you do read through her reasons for supporting the union, there's one section in particular that stands out. Rowling states that when people try to make this debate about the purity of your lineage, things start getting a little Death Eaterish for my taste. No one is arguing from that perspective. That's why anyone living in Scotland has the right to vote in September, regardless of where you were born or grew up. The fact that this is even a concern to Rowling is very telling of how the Yes side is being portrayed, and by reacting abusively, instead of in a calm and measured manner, you only spread the misrepresentation further. However, while a few abusive tweets did come forward after Rowling's statement, what is more interesting is the fact that just before that, the No campaign used the cover of abuse to distract from another story. As we passed the 100 days to the referendum milestone, Better Together held an event where saw folks standing up and talking about why they were voting no. And amongst those who came forward was a woman named Clare Lally, who said that she was just an ordinary mum from Clydebank campaigning for Scotland to stay in the UK. Campbell Gunn, the First Minister's senior special advisor, then sent an email to our journalist pointing out that while the No campaign was representing Lally as a regular mum, she's actually been a member of the Labour shadow cabinet for the last 2 years. The problem was that he also mistakenly said that Lally was the daughter of the former Labour Lord Provost of Glasgow, Pat Lally, which she isn't. Now what happened next was a barrage of coverage claiming that Gunn was smearing Lally with misinformation that conveniently covered up that she was misrepresenting herself and her role in the Labour Party. Gunn has since apologised for the mistake, but it was not accepted. Instead, the image of abusive Yes supporters continued to circulate. I'm not quite sure how pointing out that someone is a member of the Scottish Labour shadow cabinet when they are, and then making a mistake about who their dad is, becomes the massive coordinated smear campaign that it was portrayed as in the press, but that's what happened. So let's keep it civil, folks. We are winning, and we are doing that by being respectful and using rational and passionate arguments. Abusive statements have no place in this campaign. This week in Project Fear, the ongoing campaign to keep you scared of independence, we find out that the oil is, in fact, not running out. Now, Better Together have been claiming that we would run out of oil within a few years and that production has been steadily declining, despite reports from the oil industry that said this wasn't the case at all. Former Chancellor Denis Healey even admitted that the Callaghan administration underplayed the value of North Sea oil because they were worried it would support the independence movement. However, we can now put that myth to rest completely. Technical and geological evidence has been presented that shows that what has been called the biggest oil field in the world lies west of the Isle of Lewis. On top of that, an oil company is currently investing over £1 billion in developing a different oil field to the northeast of Aberdeen. It's not running out. The question now is how we want it to be handled. In the 1970s, it was recommended to Westminster to start an oil fund to protect future generations. What do we have for it? Nothing. They didn't follow the advice. The SNP have claimed that if an oil fund had been set up, we would currently have over £100 billion saved in it. Norway, who discovered oil at the same time as Scotland, did set up an oil fund, and they now have over £500 billion saved up for the future. Westminster's terrible mismanagement of Scotland's oil may be why a recent poll found that 65% of North Sea oil and gas workers will be voting yes in September. Now I want to send out a very quick message about the future of this show. I'm going to be expanding and opening up another series of smaller videos of questions from the community. So if you're an undecided or even a no vote, you can send over your questions about independence and I will try and answer them. Just send an email to indierefcommunity@gmail.com. If you have undecided friends, get them to send their questions. Let's keep getting the facts out there. I also want to open this up to followers of the show. If you have a story that you think should be shared, please drop me an email with links to your sources or maybe some footage. I'll be covering major events, but that doesn't mean things won't slip by me. All assistance is appreciated. And now on to the final section, it's the fact of the day. Michael Gove's Department for Education has proposed the privatisation of social services, seeing jobs that involve children being taken from their families being outsourced to companies such as G4S. Eileen Munro, a professor of social policy at the London School of Economics and Political Science, has come forward and said that this is extremely dangerous, that childcare is a responsibility of the state and that it should not be delegated to a profit-making organisation. 37 senior social service academics have condemned the decision. And while it is extremely unfortunate for England that this may be happening, matters concerning social services in Scotland have been devolved to the Scottish Parliament. So yes, the only thing in the way of Gove's ill-advised proposal, privatising childcare, coming into effect in Scotland, is that he doesn't have that power up here. If the fact that having control over our own country is preventing such dangerous policies from being implemented in Scotland, why wouldn't we want to take full control through independence before other policies that we don't have control over come into effect, like the bedroom tax, that the Scottish Government are countering by diverting funding from other areas to protect the vulnerable in our society? Money that could be spent elsewhere if the bedroom tax hadn't been brought in the first place. Still think we're better together? Thanks for listening. Links to everything I've spoken about are below. Please do share, like and subscribe. If any of you undecideds and no voters do have questions, please send them over to indyrefcommunity@gmail.com. I'll be bringing you your IndieRef weekly roundup every week from now until the referendum. I will see you all next week, and remember, don't hate the media, become the media.